What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of Love and Rice with your host, Aunt Ma, and host, Christina. Ma? I didn't know if I had to say your last name or not.
I don't know.
All right, so we've been married for 11 years, almost, right? In like another month or so.
Yeah.
And we've learned a lot about having kids. So in this episode, we're going to be talking about what would you do if you didn't have kids? What would you be doing? There's a lot of things, right?
Yeah.
One would be, obviously, I would still be playing basketball, right? Like I never even get to watch basketball anymore. And I used to watch every single Laker game, every single Clipper game. And I would say for the last 5 years, I watched pretty much zero. Up until maybe this year, I've watched almost every playoff game.
Yeah.
But it took me 5 years.
True. And when we were, I guess before kids too, you used to play basketball like a few times a week.
2 to 3 times a week.
Yeah. And when you would have games, I would actually have time to go and watch you play too.
Now I don't even care.
Oh, yeah.
That's how sad it is, right? Like my passion that I had for basketball my entire life is gone.
Yeah. I think because there was also motivation too to like be fit and to be active and to just like get out of the house and stuff. But now there's actually no real time
or motivation.
To do all of that. Yeah.
I'm just like, I'm too tired. I don't really care.
Yeah.
Right.
I think the priorities have changed like after having kids.
Yeah, for sure. So what is something that you would still be doing if you didn't have kids?
I think one thing is I get a lot of FOMO still when there are like events when it comes to going out.
Okay, yeah, you talk about this all the time.
I do talk about this all the time because you know that I've always been a very outgoing person. Like ever since I met you, we've always gone out and done things, gone to events, concerts, festivals, things like that. And I still love to do those things because I feel like I can't really do too much of anything now. And that was the one thing that I really enjoyed, where my mind would be on the kids, but not so much. Like I would actually be so fully invested into just that moment and the time that we're out there that I'm not like, oh no, I wish I was at home, or what are the kids doing, you know? Because I think even when we do anything else, like even if we just go on a date night or I feel like a lot of the times we just spend it running errands if we are away from the kids, and we're always like talking about the kids.
Yeah, I mean, because when we're running errands, we're like, oh, thank God we don't have to be with them right now at Target.
Yeah.
And they're like yelling and like we can actually get things done.
Yeah.
Right. But, there's obviously you're talking about events, and what's one event that you wish you could be going to that you can't because you have kids?
Probably Coachella.
Coachella? Yeah, we never been to one.
Yeah, exactly. Because that was one thing I always said that I wanted to do when we were together. And we've been together for so long and we never went to experience it once.
Because it's like a whole weekend thing.
Yeah, it's a few days.
Our kids were young at the time, so it's like we couldn't leave them for a whole weekend because the sleeping was bad, the milk and eating situations were bad. But for me, I don't think I cared to go not because of the kids, but because I'm just over that phase of partying. Like it's so crowded.
Yeah.
There's so many people. I get anxiety. Like when I used to go to raving like every single weekend, and during my last phase of raving, like the lines were crazy. You're just like this and you're stuck and like waiting to get in, and everyone's taller than you. You can't breathe. And I was like, this is too crazy, dude.
Yeah, and I think that's the difference between our dynamics now, because you actually started going out, going to clubs, raves, experimenting with things like at a really young age.
Yeah, I had like fake IDs to go.
Yeah, I couldn't go anywhere until I actually turned 18. But even when I turned 18, like, yes, I could go to 18 and over clubs. But even then, that was really hard because my parents were so strict on me. So I started late. And
I was sneaking out.
Exactly. That's the difference. Like,
but that's
I was
not
so
a good thing. You're saying you're so sheltered. I was too, but I just did things illegally.
Right. But that's what I'm saying. You're more over that phase now because you started so young that you got it out of your system. But for me, I started later. And I guess the way that you see going to events and festivals, concerts, Coachella, stuff like that is as partying. But for me, I like to go for the environment. I like being around the people. And I feel like for those kind of festivals, it's like Always happy, good vibes.
Yeah, no, so I love the vibes of the festivals. I love being able to enjoy it, but I hate the environment and I hate the people.
Yeah, so that's the
That's what it
difference.
is.
Yeah.
But, you know,
And I'm a social person,
there was this one time, I think I was 14 years
Oh my
old.
gosh.
And my brother took me to my first rave. This was at Masterdome in, I think, like Riverside or
Oh
San
my
Bernardino.
gosh, yeah.
And that was like the first place where they would have raves every week. And my brother told my parents, like, hey, I'm going to take him to this rave. And, you know, I was like, cool. I didn't really know what it was. So my first experience, I was like, whoa, what's going on? Like, people are acting crazy. At that time, I didn't even know people were doing drugs. I didn't know what it was. And then I'll go into a porta potty. I'm like, oh my God, what is that stench? And it was like someone hotboxed and was smoking weed in the porta potty, you know? And I'm like this 14-year-old kid. But after that one experience, then I had friends in high school who were like going raving, who are older than me. And they're like, hey, let's go. And this is literally like within the same month that my brother just took me to the same place.
So he took you to your first rave
He took
ever?
me to my first rave ever.
Wow.
And then so I told him, hey, I'm going to go with my friends. Don't tell mom and dad. But in case something happens, at least you know where I went. So I snuck out while everyone was sleeping. And I guess my parents, for some reason, tried to go into my room when I was sleeping. But at this age, when you're a teenager, you lock your door when you sleep, all this stuff. They don't come in your room. They don't bother you. But for some reason, they knocked on the door. I didn't open it, obviously because I was at the rave already with my friends. And so then my brother had to tell them where I was before they broke the door down.
Oh, so he didn't even rat you out.
Eventually.
He had to. He had no choice. Okay.
And so he told them that I was at Masterdome. And so him and my dad drove to Masterdome to go get me. They went inside the rave and they were looking for me, and I was raving with my buddies. And, you know, I saw my dad and I was like, what the hell? Why is my dad at this rave? And so they took me and left. And I tried to tell my friends, I was like, hey, my dad's here. I got to go. And my friends they're rolling. So they didn't hear that. They thought I said the glow stick popped and I'm gonna get a new one. So I left them, and so they spent all night looking for me. Because they drove me, right? Only one in high school, only one guy drives.
And they're waiting to take you home
and it was like 7 a.m. and they're still looking for me. I left at like 1 or 2.
Wow.
And so they didn't know I left.
And you were in trouble, so you couldn't even use your phone to like let them know.
There's not really phones at that time. There are beepers and pagers.
Oh, that's true.
And so, here's another thing. So after 7 a.m., they came to my house and knocked on the door to make sure I was home, right? And my mom answered the door. And then my friend was like, oh, here's Aunt's pager.
Uh-oh. Did they know about that pager?
My parents did not know about the pager.
That's what I thought.
Because they didn't want me to have a phone or a pager or anything, right?
You're 14 years old.
But I went to get my own pager at 14 years old because there's girls that I talk to.
Oh my God.
And then being in high school, you're just like, haha, I got a pager. So you look cool and stuff. I got top of the line one that shows me all the sports scores. You know, here's what the Lakers are playing today on your pager. You push that left and right and you see all the different scores. And so they brought home my pager that had a transparent blue case.
Oh my gosh.
And then it had and then you know how you put your pager, it clips onto your pants. So that string was full of beads and stuff like that.
No.
And then
Raver
I got in
beads.
trouble with the pager. I got in trouble for sneaking out at a rave. And
I didn't even have a pager back then, but I knew it was a big thing before. Do you remember? Like people used to always steal voicemails.
still?
Like I don't know if that's the right word for it, but we used to just call random numbers, and then if it ended up being like someone's voicemail, then you have to enter the passcode, right? And then we'll just try to enter like random numbers like 0000 or 1234, and then if we crack the code, we would change the password to it, and we would keep those voicemails, and then we would make a little intro with the background
What the
music
heck?
in the back, and we would steal those voicemail
I've
numbers.
never heard of that.
Yeah.
Why would you do that?
That was the thing. I don't know. I had
did
no
that?
idea. Yeah, like we would just do it for fun because
Who's we?
just like me and my friends. It was just always like a bunch of girls, and we would always do that. Yeah, and I didn't even think about it. Like now that I'm thinking about it, I'm like, oh my gosh, like whose number did we take? Like whose voicemail did we crack? But back then it seemed so innocent. Like we're just like, oh cool, like we came across this free number and voicemail. Like here, let's give this number out to people so people can leave messages for us and stuff. Yeah, that's actually really horrible now that I think.
Yeah, that's
it.
pretty bad.
Yeah,
I mean, not as bad as things I did as a kid, but that's yeah. We're not talking about that.
What were we talking about?
We were talking about what would we be doing if we didn't have kids.
Okay, so actually, going back to like going out, going to events, like social events, and things like that, I think it's more so of the fact that like our friends are going, and sometimes we're making new friends, and we want to connect, we want to like build our circle, hang out, get to know them. But that's something that we can't do. Like, it's just not an option.
Like, I'll give you a good example. There's a time when we were doing a lot of JK stuff. Yeah. Right. And then Gina would hit us up all the time. Yeah. And Gina would be like, hey, what are you guys doing? You want to go out and stuff like that? And I'm like, we got the kids. We can't really do anything. And I'd be surprised, like, why do you want to hang out so much? She's like, because I want to hang out with you guys, you know? And then we never, ever hang out because we're just dealing with the kids.
Yeah. So I feel like there's a lot of missed opportunities.
Right? Like I'll see everybody's stories and videos of them together and other new friends. And I'm like, oh, they're out at these parties and these events with each other. And then it's like, I feel bad that I'm not there. Mm-hmm. And then two, I feel bad that I can't keep up the friendship with people.
And sometimes they don't understand because they don't have kids.
Yeah, they don't. They just think that, I don't know, we're not important. You know, like we don't think they're important. Right. But it's like, I think about those friends all the time. I just have the kids to deal with.
Yeah. You know? I think that's the hard part, like trying to maintain friendships when you have kids. Because even having friends that have kids, like even when we go out, we'll just look at each other and nod out of exhaustion because our kids are so crazy eating dinner. And it's like, it's not like back then where you would be kid free and you could just actually sit there and connect and talk about things and vent and not get interrupted or having to tell someone not to do something.
When we go hang out with another family, it's so hard to do that, to schedule that, because even to do that once a month is so difficult to do.
Yeah. And I get anxious too. Like when you set up like dinner dates or something with other families, I'm like, oh no, I hope the kids are going to behave. How are their kids going to be compared to the other kids? You know, like I hope that they don't cry and yell and aren't like the loud ones in the restaurant. So I get anxiety about it. I do. Yeah. So.
Man. All right. Yeah. Friends is a big thing. That's definitely the hardest. That also takes a toll on mental health. But, you know, I think as long as we keep focusing on the family, you know, the parts that really matter about the kids' growth and our growth, then, you know, we'll be okay.
Yeah. And I think because you get so consumed with work sometimes too, and I understand that the workload is crazy, when I do see the kids trying to like attempt to talk to you, or they're trying to show you something, or they're just trying to like do something cute for you to see, I'm like, hey, they're talking to you. Hey, did you hear what they said? Like, do you notice those hints that I always do? Yeah. Yeah, because those little moments, even though you might not notice it, like it means like so much to them.
Yeah, because you're seeing it like 10 minutes before it happens, so you know what's gonna go on. Yeah. So yeah, I think it's great when you say, hey, they're trying to tell you something. Like, and I completely stop what I'm doing, and then I go into dad mode and kid mode and try to absorb it. Yeah. But if you don't tell me those things, I'm like, oh yeah, that's cool. Good job, Leia.
No, or sometimes you won't hear them at all.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, and I'm like, hey, hello. Like you're just like trying to like answer this text message, or I know it's for work too, but I'm just like, hey, disconnect for a minute.
There's a lot of times when we spend a lot of hours with the kids. So the moment I have 2 hours to crush work, I'm like deep into it.
Yeah. You know, like no one can talk to you.
Because I'm like, shit, I got 2 hours. I got to do everything right now. Don't bother me, you know? Yeah. Before I die and I'm tired, you know? Yeah. So I would say the last thing though that's hard is just yesterday we went test driving. Right?
Oh,
we test drove a new car, and I've always wanted a convertible. Like a year before we had our first child, I was like, okay, let's get a fun car before we can't have one anymore, right? So I bought a Corvette.
Yep.
And we enjoyed the Corvette for a year before we had Leia.
That was nice.
And it was the funnest car we ever had. Never thought I would do something like that.
It's one of the nicest cars that we had.
And then we sold it to get the 4Runner. And from that point on, we've had nothing but family cars.
Right.
So one of my goals for our life is to have a convertible. Convertible, stick, fun, just something we can really like. I used to be a super car enthusiast as a child. Or as a teenager, right? I had a Rice Rocket, Honda
Once you were able
Accord,
to drive.
put like over 10K into it. I had TVs all up in there, the rims, the body kits.
Think Pimp My Ride.
Pimp My Ride, exactly. You know? And so I had one of those Rice Rockets, and now I miss those times, right? So yesterday we went test driving, and we test drove a convertible.
Yeah.
A BMW convertible. And how did you feel driving it?
It felt good because I actually felt like we were doing something for ourselves.
Yeah.
And because if we get this car, like I'm getting rid of the car that I've loved and I still love after like 8 years?
Yeah.
You know, so it felt good. But then the mom mode always comes back and I'm like, is this a practical purchase?
It's not.
Is it safe?
Kind of.
Is it convenient?
No.
Exactly.
It all doesn't check the box.
Right.
But what checks the box is YOLO.
Yeah.
Right.
I
and
guess
we're like,
so.
we do so much for the family and for the kids. I just want something for us to have fun with that we deserve. We work so hard, right? And I'm like, convertible is not practical. It's also expensive, and it's just a really dumb idea. But at the same time, I kind of want to give up a lot of that convenience and everything just to have that.
Right.
Like, I don't mind, not having to push the seats back every time to put the kids into the car seats.
But you wouldn't have to, because with the convertible, right?
With the top off, you just put the kids over the car and they go in there.
Yeah.
But it's pretty much opening the cover every time you open the door.
But they make it automatic now where you just push the button and it does it on its own, right? Rather than having to do it manually.
So you're saying you want a convertible?
It's kind of funny because this whole time you were trying to convince me and now I'm like, the roles are reversing.
If you don't get one, then we'll eventually be getting like an old convertible sports car that we could have as a fun car.
Yeah. I don't know. I feel like I might be going the route of a fun car, something for me, because this whole time we're talking about getting rid of my car because it's getting older and we don't want to deal with the maintenance and the cost of it. And it was always, I think you should get a bigger car. We should get something where we can put more stuff when we go shopping.
I've been telling you to get an SUV.
Yeah.
I've been telling you to get...
I don't want an SUV.
A fully electric car.
Yeah.
Right? And now we just went into like gas guzzling sports car. That was
complete opposite
and
of what
no
we're
storage
looking
space,
for.
nothing.
Yeah.
Because we're always like, hey, when we go to Costco, we got to get packs of paper towels, toilet paper, Kleenex boxes, and you can't even get all three of those to fit in a regular small compact car.
Yeah, but now that we think of it, we have your car for a reason.
Yeah, we're never gonna go to Costco with a convertible.
No.
But I'll take the kid to school in the convertible every day.
I would too.
And I'll drive to LA for all my showings with it.
Okay, so you want to take the kids to school every day then with the convertible?
All right.
Okay, you guys heard it, right?
Yeah, so I guess we're getting a convertible. I don't know. We're just being stupid right now.
Yeah.
We might still get one. Who knows? But I hope you guys enjoyed this episode of Love and Rice. I love what we've been doing here. And thank you guys for watching the videos. So comment down below what topics you want us to talk about. Also, make sure to follow us on all podcast platforms: Amazon, Apple, Google, Spotify, and also here on YouTube. So we'll see you guys next time.